You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 124 of the Wisdom by Wessa show on the Horse Radio Network. This is Mike Donnell.
I'm Casey Wilbanks-Coletti.
And this is Sofia Yagala. Welcome to Wisdom by Wessa on the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This podcast is brought to you by the Western and English Sales Association, WESA, which provides the world's largest trade events for retailers, manufacturers, and sales representatives of the equestrian industry. In this podcast, we feature exclusive interviews with noteworthy Western and English personalities, retailers, and exhibitors who you've always wanted to talk to. Don't miss out on all the news for manufacturers and retailers in the equine industry. The January WESA Trade Show just wrapped up last month. Sophia is here, and we'd like to talk to her and see what were some of the standout numbers from the recent WESA Trade Show when it comes to attendance.
Yes, it was such a good show with so much shared positivity about our industry. And we're also super excited to see yet another increase in attendance with over 1,400 stores registered, including 170 new stores that we got to welcome for the very first time. And I think it's also worth mentioning that about 2/3 of our attendees made sure to pre-register online ahead of time, which helped them to be off and running quickly.
Let's talk about the diversity in terms of where the attendees came from to join the WESA Trade Show. Can you share some insights on that?
Yes. So with this show, we are super excited about a geographical diversity because we had 42 U.S. states and 20 foreign countries represented by stores in attendance. And I think that representation, of course, underscores our global reach, not just in the U.S., but really globally, and also emphasizes that WESA truly brings everybody together, the entire industry, including key international players. So that's, again, why WESA is where the industry meets.
Exhibitors are such a vital part of the WESA Trade Show. Can you give us a glimpse into the exhibitor presence at the WESA Trade Show?
Of course. So with almost 500 exhibitors, including 70 new ones, so that means that they were new to a January WESA Trade Show, the event actually expanded its square footage once again. And of course, we're super excited about that growth across the board. And we're also excited about the outcome of the recent show, just in general, for social media, in-person attendance, really everything across the board. And with that being said, we are already super excited to look forward to the August WESA Trade Show, but more info on that in a later time.
A few years ago, Elizabeth Brady was seriously injured in a car accident and suffered traumatic brain injury. She discovered during therapy that concentrating on small visual activities aided in her recovery. Always an artistic person, Elizabeth tried her hand at hat burning, and the result was a new business, Burned Brims, which made its debut at the recent WESA show in Dallas. Elizabeth and her son, John Robert, join us today. Elizabeth Brady, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to talk with us here on Wisdom by WESA.
Thank you for having me.
You know, how you got into this business is a great story. The success you've had in terms of people recognizing and wanting the hat is a great story. But let's go back to how you got into this, because I think it's a critical part of the Burned Brims legacy.
So a few years ago, I got into a car accident and received multiple injuries, but the biggest one was a concussion that caused some brain damage. And I found when I was trying to heal and heal my brain that if I focused on something small that I really had to concentrate on, which turned out to be burning hats, that it was just everything around me calmed down. And I noticed that I was thinking clearer, just was having a better quality of life. And things were healing better doing that kind of close focus kind of work on hats. So that's how I started doing it. I don't know if I had gotten into a car accident, if it's something that I would have started doing. So in some ways, the car accident opened a new door for me.
Now, I'm assuming when you started this, maybe starting a business hadn't quite occurred to you yet.
Well, my son and I have owned a commercial embroidery business that we've done for quite a few years. And so that part of the business was difficult after the accident. So he mainly took that over, that part. But I definitely would not have started burning without the car accident, or started a business with the hats without
Now,
that.
how long ago did you actually decide to make this a business and actually start burning and selling hats as a business?
Just about a year ago.
Okay. And you've come a long way in a year.
We've come a long way. The reception and the people just has been overwhelming. Yes, it's been an exciting year for us.
Now, I know there are people who know what burning hats is. So for our listeners who are saying, how do you burn a hat? Why don't you explain in kind of layman's terms what you do to create an piece of art from a hat?
So what I do is I'm mostly on felted wool, flat pinch fronts or round tops or cowboy hats, but mostly on felted wool. And I use a wood burning tool, just like you would use in craft, for burning wood. And I have more than one tool. I've got all different heat variations, because every hat can be different for heat variation. And I really just fairly simple. I take a look at a hat. I don't trace. Everything that I burn is just coming from me, original art. And I just take each individual hat and just burn it. Can burn the design in.
Now, this is probably a point to mention now. If you go to Burning Brims Facebook page, because there's not a website yet, but if you go to the Facebook page, anybody who's listening, you can see the results of her labors, because it's really a demonstration of creativity. Clearly, you have a talent in terms of when you put that instrument onto the texture of the hat, but the creativity of what it is you're going to create before you start, I think, is one of the things that makes your hats unique.
Yeah, I think they have a certain kind of feel when you look at them, because nothing is set until I start working on them, and in all truthfulness, I still have a little bit of brain issues, and sometimes I'll look back and I'll be looking at my work and I'll be like, oh, I really love that, and then I kind of think, oh, I did that.
Are no two hats alike?
You know what? So for Weston, we had the set designs. And those are the designs that we put out for the show for people to look at and pick from. But a lot of times, no, they're not all the same. They can be different. And if someone wants a custom burn, if they want something unique to their area or to their life, I did a lady who barrel races, and her horse's name was Ace. So we did a special hat for her for barrel racing with Ace. So they're all different. And even if I'm still doing the same design like we showed at Westa, they're still going to have little bits of differences here and there. They're still going to be unique. So when the client gets them, they're a unique product.
Casey is also a professional barrel racer.
I knew he was going to say, you need to get a hat with your horse's name X on it. I call her the letter X. I thought...
Wouldn't be that complicated, would it?
No, I thought he was going to segue into that. I was ready for it.
You were ready, yeah.
I knew where we were going with it, but nonetheless, that makes it a cool aspect because, I mean, I guess for maybe a lack of better words, but when you wear boots and hats, there's only, in long sleeve button shirts, there's only so many ways you can get creative. So people like you coming up with new ways to be different and individual is very cool. And honestly, this is the first time I've seen something like this. So yeah, that's cool for me. I want you to talk a little bit about, I was just kind of scrolling your Facebook and you kind of have a picture of your display from WESA in January. And I would just like your take on the WESA show and just share some of your experiences from the show.
WESA for us was a great show, and we had great feedback from so many people in the industry that retail Western wear. And we had a lot of people really surprised by what we did. And Mike and I spoke a little bit about this already, about the burning on men's hats, because men don't get, they have, like you said, you guys have your basic wear. And not many people have ventured into the men's hats and putting things on, let alone burning on them. And I think that was one of the biggest surprises, how receptive men were to seeing the hats with something burned on them, and something different than just a plain hat or a different hat band, but actual design on the hat.
Sure. I can see, like for men, a brand, just, your basic horse or cattle brand would be, see, my mind's always, I swear this show, I end up looking at more things that I need than I ever knew I needed before we get you guys on the phone. But I guess that speaks to the uniqueness and amazing products and interviews that we do. But
yeah,
so cool. Again, I'm just looking at the pictures, and I want to just talk through the steps of a retailer carrying your products because of the fact that they are all handmade by you. How does this look for a retailer that wants to carry your hats? Walk through that process of how many, they could get from you, or if they can order custom for their customers, or just kind of walk us through the process.
They can absolutely order a custom hat to more of their region and their area, whatever their area caters to. And really, all the designs can go on any kind of hat. So if they want a design on a cowboy hat, I can do that. Or if they want them all on pinch front, flat brims, we can do that. So what I do is we have a website that we're just getting ready to bring up, and it's going to be called Burned Hat Company, burnedhatco.com. And on that site, we're going to have all the different hats that people can pick from, and then we're going to have the designs that they can go through and pick what designs they want on what hat. And then we'll also be doing custom work.
About how long? I'm sure it depends on the design. How long does it take you for one hat?
When I'm first starting a hat, learning the design, it can take me quite a while. But all the designs that WESA we've developed, and I've burned them multiple times. And so on average, most of the WESA designs that you're seeing there take me an hour. But if I'm working on if I'm working on something that's custom, and on some wool blends are harder to burn, you might have to go over an area 2, 3, 4 times just to get the shading and get the depth you want, or the darkness.
Right.
And some of those, I've had hats take up to 3 hours. So it can be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, but most of the hats at WESA were about an hour to burn.
If I were a retailer, and I'm not, you give me the opportunity to add a custom dress hat line to my inventory that I've never had before. And that would be one of the appealing things to me as a retailer is, yes, I would order multiple hats from you, but if I were going to market that, I would market this as a custom hat made only for you and made only by Elizabeth. And
right.
I think that that's the way that a lot of people will go with this. And to me, that's the attractiveness. He mentioned this, if I'm going to purchase a hat that it took the artist 3 hours and no one else on the face of the earth has a hat like that, to me, that's the perfect example of a custom hat.
Yes, and I have some people from WESA who are ordering right now, and the hats are going to be strictly their designs that they're selling for their for their Golden Gate Bridge. We have a lady in San Francisco who's got a Western wear store, and we're going to burn her a hat specific to her area. And we also have another gentleman who does leather work, and he wants me to take his leather work designs and incorporate them into a hat, burned into a hat. And they'll be their private designs. And I do that, private designs for stores that you can only get this here, you know. And and also the other thing that we do that, I would say when I'm burning a hat live, you'll smell it before you see me. But it's such a distinct smell when you're burning a hat. And even at Wessa, when I was burning, all the booths around us were saying, wow, you brought more people into the area that would, came into our booth because you were burning, because people come by just to see what's going on. They smell it and they kind of follow it, and they get there and they see all of a sudden you're burning live. It's really it's a great tool for just people seeing it and promoting it, what a burned hat is, and I have done burn live for stores locally for people so that they can, promote it. They do a special, promotion for that day, and we go in and we burn.
I think that's another neat marketing idea that logistics aside for a moment, you would come into my store and you would burn hats in front of all my customers. I think that's another great marketing idea that you have. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I have another question, only because I was curious after we talked. I mean, I'm sure if I, by chance, have my hat on in a rainstorm, what will happen to the design? Anything, or was
nothing?
Okay, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, nothing will happen to it.
Okay. The other part of this that's important is you put a label in the hat so I can prove that it's your original design. Yes?
That's correct. So even like our Facebook page is Burned Brims by Elizabeth Brady, and inside the hat is a label that says Burned Brims by Elizabeth Brady.
Which to me adds to the allure and the value of the hat.
When you're looking to buy a hat, you get all your colors and you get all your styles, but then this just offers a whole new level to be creative and for people to pick where they're, towards their creative side too, where they lean towards, We sell a lot of the hat that has the bird and twig. We call it bird and twig. And because a lot of people who are birders wear hats, and they're getting, they love the flat brim hats with that on. It opens up a whole new area to sell to new people.
We talked a little bit about the hat material and the ones that you have burned and those that you have not yet burned.
Right.
Now, the ones you burn are what?
Felted wool.
Right.
And I have burned poly cotton, which you have to be really careful on, because you'll go right through it. In a blink of an eye, it'll just melt right underneath the tool. But so mostly just felted wool. I have yet to burn on a beaver hat.
Okay, good to know. Good point to know. Are you going to try?
I am. I've actually had little samples of it that I know it burns beautifully. I just haven't burned one. Mainly because I haven't purchased. They're so expensive. It's a cost thing for me. The beaver hats, I mean, really, they can run up in quite a bit of money. And so I haven't just gone and bought one to just go burn on, but we do have beaver hats that are coming that I will be burning on for somebody.
Well, it just sounds like the future is wide open for you. Clearly you have enough hats to keep you busy for a long time. I admire the gentleness of the touch that you must have to be able to put such intricate designs on what is a delicate fabric compared to wood burning when you just burn it.
Right.
I mean, and obviously that talent grew out of your rehab at the time you were looking for something that would assist you in moving faster along the rehab track.
Correct. Yep. Something I could focus in on and concentrate on.
Well, and I think anybody listening to this show who has or have friends or neighbors or whatever who've been through a traumatic brain injury will take heart in the fact that you were able to find a way to be creative, to have a business, to express yourself, and that there's a lot of ways that people can go about it. I suspect there will be people who will reach out to you just to get your story and how you did it, because I suspect there will be people in that situation who are going to admire you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So anyway, hey, thanks for spending the time with us. We do appreciate it. And you go on and burn some more hats this afternoon.
We appreciate it too. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Enjoyed talking with you.
You too. Bye-bye.
The show notes and links from today's show can be found at wisdombywessa.com. And of course, we'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any, there's a contact link on the website.
The Wisdom by Wessa show will be published on the 15th and 30th of every month. You can listen on most of your favorite podcast players, and you can also listen on wisdombywessa.com. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Wessa, where the industry meets.